Hi, I'm Sean. I work at Berkeley with a series of people up here and Eric, and we have spent the last 5 years, the project I'm going to talk about with you is spent the last 5 years deploying JupyterHubs and helping community colleges as well as CSUs teach Data 8 and do in-browser or online computing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project. Thank you. Is that going to work? Cool. So I'm just going to tell you a quick little bit about the project, what we've done, what's worked, and talk a little bit about what we're thinking. So it's been super cool. It's been 5 years. We've got 2,000 students a semester right now, rolling on all the various hubs we have. There's 2 major projects going on that we'll talk about a little bit. We have 26 California community colleges, and it's like 8 or 9 of the CSUs and UCs going at this point. We just started with this, so these are continuing to grow in the last year. So there's kind of 2 pieces going on that I want to talk about. One is the infrastructure piece, which is like what the whole conference is about here, and how dialed in is what I want you guys to see, is that it's very, very, very simple on my side and very complicated on the technical side, but it's all there. So I'm really thankful to a lot of people who have worked there. And then we will talk a bit about the users that we're seeing and what we've done to help them and make things move forward. So what we need when we're deploying these is we need kind of as little configuration as possible, and 0 is even better. So we've gotten it to where there's 0 configuration needed for instructors or professors or students. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that single sign-on is almost always possible, and sometimes not, and I'll tell you what we do. And we need a consistent environment. So, you know, what happens a lot of times, as you guys know, that you have 50 students in a class, there's 50 different environmental operating systems going on, environments you have to deal with. And so we've gotten rid of all that. You guys know that, total JupyterHub type piece. We have funded compute, as Eric says. We've been chasing free for 10 years. I love that line. User telemetry is a goal that we haven't quite got to, that we're still working on. So, you know, what we needed is the professors and instructors we've minimized what's needed. So it's usually one phone call, one Zoom call with them for about an hour, and we can get them going. Some of them know what's already happening. We don't even have to do that. The students, we have no configuration for them, of course. We try to limit all package management, so we've pretty much got it so that the images they have are completely ready to go. And we have got it to a point where a student, it depends on the course, but if we're talking to our Data 8 course at Berkeley that a lot of the community colleges are using, is that they're going to click a button, then Jupyter Notebook's going to open, and they're just going to start working. And so we've kind of abstracted away and hidden all the pieces that are behind that, thanks to Jupyter. So here's what we offer. So we're not a GPU house, we're a CPU house. So we are small compute, lots of people. And we'll usually give them, we can, of course, configure this, and we can give more or less, but generally what people are using are 2 CPUs, 2 gigabytes of RAM, and we have JupyterLab, Jupyter Notebook, RStudio, VS Code, and Python, R, and C++ available. So of the 2,000 students we have going right now, 1,000 are sitting in JupyterLab, Jupyter Notebook, working on Data 8 type courses. Then we have another 1,000, mostly coming out of CSU, which are using, a chunk of them are using RStudio, programming in R, and another chunk are using VS Code, a smaller chunk at this point. So that's how that's kind of breaking down. So Python, R, it's like half and half, something like this. I don't know anybody using C++, but it'd be cool. We're looking for the first one. If you're in the room, we're looking for the first one. The deployments, we can get into the projects. I'm just kind of keeping it at a high level. Is our deployments are managed by Shane, who's right up front. He's handling 1,000 of them, doing a really incredible job for us. And the other half are managed by 2I2C. And it's all on my side, so I'm talking my side, and my side is instructor comes to me, I want to teach on a hub. I ask him a few questions. It takes me about 5-10 minutes. I set the config, I commit it, it deploys, and it's ready to go. So that is like thanks to an incredible amount of work done by Shane, done by 2I2C, done by the Berkeley infrastructure team, to make it so that you kind of have to step back and go, this is like so easy to get an insane amount of compute going all at the same time for hundreds, now thousands of users with very little work. All the work is in the support, which we'll talk about later. And the user images are completely configurable. We use repo to Docker on both of our projects. We have, maybe Sean is in here from City College. I don't think he's in here. So it is that if they want to, you can make your own image and use your own image on the hub. So we have people configuring their own images. Not a ton of them, but we have 3 or 4 images that are available that we put out there, one base image that we try to keep down. Shane's getting nervous as I say more images. So the authentication piece is always kind of the hardest piece, depending on the institution. So if it's a university or the California State University system, it's super easy. We use CI logon. It's a nationwide service you've probably heard of. That takes us like 3 seconds to set up. Or if they are a Google or Microsoft IDP place, which also is the vast majority of them, it's also fairly simple to set up, again, through CI logon. Sometimes, in a few schools, few institutions, we've had to use GitHub OAuth when they don't have CI logon configured and they won't give permission for their IDP to let us through, is essentially what's going on. There's a couple like that. We can usually avoid it. Let's talk users. So that's infrastructure. That's basically all it is on my end, and there's a ton of work that goes on behind the scenes. Where I spend a lot of my time is working with and helping the users get going. And the users, by the users, I'm meaning mostly the instructors is who I'm working with. So the instructors come from the community colleges in California. The first part of the project, the first few years, was almost exclusively people who are wanting to teach the big data science course called Data 8 at Berkeley. And so it was getting them the materials and the notebooks and the compute and getting them the kind of up to speed on how they were going to run the course. We'll talk about that in a second. The second group is coming mostly out of statistics and math classes, some computer science, coming out of the universities. So what happens is we end up with kind of two instructors. One, once we set up the infrastructure, they have about half the instructors have courses, have notebooks, or are using RStudio and know what they're doing. They're looking for a place to live. They've been somewhere else. They want to try this out. Those take very little support on our end. The other ones are like unfamiliar with kind of the entire ecosystem, probably never heard of Jupyter, probably never heard of GitHub, may have seen a notebook at one of our conferences or something like that. So we have seen, this is Eric coined this term, but this is like the last mile people, where we've got everything all set up, and we spend a lot of time on the phone helping them get ready to go. So we've kind of optimized that process to make it easy for them, and we've got it down to a pretty good set of steps that we walk through. And once they get going, it usually doesn't take too much on our part. The students, I have very little interactions with. Sometimes there's a student who's suffering in some way and the instructor can't figure it out. It's usually like clear your cache and start over kind of thing. But they are, since they're needing so much, we have just kind of got everything set up so the student's just going to run through this and not have any trouble. And so we're just trying to create the smoothest possible path we can to like learning the content that they're supposed to be learning. And so my experience in talking to people is that we've got this down to where you can get straight to the content very quickly. So that's exciting. That took a bunch of work. Super fun to have in place. They're done. These experience instructors are done. The most they need are package installation. So whether that's R libraries or Python packages, we get that handled on the image. We'll usually do that for them. Sometimes they'll do it themselves. And then sometimes there's user issues. If they haven't done a lot of browser-based coding and browser-based computing, that there's browser issues that we got to work with them on. So it's never that big of a deal, really. So on the new instructors, and this was a lot of the first 3 years, and we have all these materials if people wanting to look at them. But you have, in the Data 8 course in particular, and now in Data 6, and we'll probably do another course soon called Data 100, these are like Jupyter courses, essentially, Jupyter-based courses, where they have a chunk of notebooks, I don't know if you guys know Otter-Grader, but Otter-Grader is a piece of software that you can configure to do automatic grading inside of notebooks. It's very popular at Berkeley. It's complex. We have it set up to where they can do automatic grading if they want to. So what we're handing the instructors are this set of notebooks. We usually have made a Canvas shell. The Canvas shell is a week-by-week layout, has all the links that the students will click to get into the course, configured to use their hub that we configured for them. And then we're helping them a ton, lecture slides, discussion slides, online textbook, that's all inside the Canvas shell, all ready to use. And then most of the work then becomes helping them do the automatic grading. So we're saving like hours and hours of time of grading, which is super cool. It's also like very complicated. Everything happens when you try to do automatic grading. So notebooks, students do weird stuff, they do weird stuff in cells, stuff goes wrong. It's just a complex process that probably takes the most support. But it's kind of the most rewarding. I don't know what we're doing right now. We're probably grading a few thousand notebooks a month or something like this. And so even though there's like a lot of problems, you realize, oh, I'm already at 10 minutes. Okay, so I think that about covers it, actually. And I think what I was going to do is we hit this new instructors, and we got the students rolling. So if you want more, there is some pieces going on here. And I think I have a bunch of links going on here. And there's the team. And I don't think I need to take more of your time. If you guys want more, come talk to me. Thank you.